Good morning, Sister Emmy.
Good morning.
Emmy, how do you say your last name?
Choge.
Choge.
But I have a middle name, Chelagat.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
Chelagat.
Yeah, Chelagat.
So it's Emmy
Chelagat Choge.
Choge. And what does Chelagat mean?
Actually, that's my name that I was given when I was born. So I was born at night before people went to sleep. So it means a lot to me. Emmy is really a borrowed name.
From? You borrowed it from?
Well, the Europeans, because it's really not an African name.
Got it.
So my African name is Chelagat. And then Choge is my family name. But I use Emmy anyway.
That's right, Emmy Choge. Okay.
Yes.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you for your willingness to share your story with us, which is, you've not been with us that long, but you have blessed us tremendously since you have been with us as Adrian Dominicans. So you've got an interesting story, and maybe you could take us back to where you grew up in Africa and what your life was like, and your parents and your siblings, whatever you want to share with us about your early life and your education.
Yes, I come from Kenya. I know, most people say Africa, yeah, Africa.
Right.
But yeah, I come from Kenya, which is in Africa. And I grew up in a large family. We are 13 children. So we have 10 girls and 3 boys. I am the second from the top.
Oh, you're older.
Yes.
You're one of the elders of the family.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And all my siblings are still in Kenya. I am the only one here. My parents are deceased. In my family, we don't have a very long life.
What do you mean?
Because it seems like people die younger before they see their grandchildren, and children, don't see their grandparents and that kind of a thing. So I'm hoping that since I'm here, I might live a little bit longer. So anyway, my father died when he was 58.
Oh,
and
yes.
Actually when he died, our last born was only 6 months old. And then my mother died when she was 50.
50?
Yeah, 50. And so anyway, so we have grown up by ourselves. The 13 of us are still alive, thank God. And
are you close?
We are close.
I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm.
We are close. I think because of the death of our parents, that really brought us together. So we took care of each other, especially some of us who are, those of us who are older, took care of the younger ones. So for a long time, my younger siblings, I know they looked at me like that, because I was a teacher, and then I really wanted them to go to school, and they thought since the parents are not there, they can choose to say no or that kind of a thing. But I was very strict.
Not around you.
I was strict. But anyway, now they appreciate that.
What were some happy times when your parents were still alive and with such a large family?
Oh, it was, we played together, we ate together, really. We didn't have so much in terms of food or anything, but whatever we had, we shared, and made sure everybody got whatever they needed. And at that time, I didn't even know that we were poor until you go out of your house, and then you see other people having so much and that kind of a thing. But we were very happy. We were just, we were close together. We loved our parents, and I think they loved us.
Sure.
But so we did most things together. And maybe another thing of being many is that you divide the chores in the house. So others could go, like in the morning we would wake up, my sister would go to light the fire, make tea and that kind of a thing. Maybe I go to milk, my brother go to do something else. So we did a lot of work together. Yes.
What about your schooling?
Yes, I went to a primary school it was a public primary school, and then I went to a high school which was run by the sisters.
What sisters?
They were the Franciscan Sisters of St. Joseph. It was an indigenous congregation in Kenya. And actually that's where I got my vocation, because it's when I converted to Catholicism. We were not Catholics at home.
Oh, you did not grow up a Catholic, okay.
So I admired the sisters and I wanted to be like them. So I got baptized when I was in the second year of my high school.
Okay. How did your family take to that?
My father was not a church goer, so he didn't really care about it. It was like whatever you choose. But my mother was very strong Protestant, and she had a hard time saying yes. And I think what made it worse is that I kept on saying, and when I grow up, I would like to be a sister.
Oh, so you even knew then, huh?
Well, when I went to school and I saw the sisters, and then I started saying that I wanted to be a sister. So I think by her saying no is because she knew what was going to follow if she said yes to me being a Catholic.
Oh,
so it took a bit of some time and convincing her. And then my father intervened and said, you know, whatever she chooses, let her be. So anyway, that's what happened.
And so where was their formation program? Where did you go for that? When you entered
Oh, that was before I entered. I mean, so I became a Catholic.
All right.
And then after high school, I joined. And I took some 2 years first. I didn't join right away from high school because my mother was still saying no.
Okay.
And, you know, they wanted me to find a job and help them. So anyway, so after 2 years at home is when I joined. But I did not join the sisters of the school that I went. I joined the Assumption Sisters. And the formation was in the outskirts of Eldoret.
Okay,
which
Eldoret,
is, yeah. Because they are the Assumption Sisters of Eldoret. They belong to the Diocese of Eldoret, and that's where I come from.
Okay, so that's where you met some of our sisters.
Yes. So in the formation, actually, when I was a postulant and a novice, I was taught by the Adrian Dominicans because they were there. And so Sister Joanne Peters, Sister Katie McGrail, Sister Dorothy Ferguson, Sister John Mary, you know. And then when they were there, quite a few of your sisters came. Our sisters came to visit. And the interesting part, I think this is interesting to me anyway, is that after they left, the way people continue with their contact, like letter writing and that kind of a thing. There was no email. And then after that it dies off and that kind. But I continued communicating with them for a long time. Sometimes I tell God, what was that? But anyway.
So you kept in touch with them?
I kept in touch with them for a long time until I came here.
So then when you became a sister of the Eldoret community? Yes,
I did. And then originally I wanted to be a nurse. And my parents, my father knew that and everything. But when I made a profession, we didn't choose really what we wanted to be. They sent me to teach in a preschool. And I taught preschool for 11 years, really.
Oh.
Yeah, I loved it while it lasted.
And that was the little kids?
Yes, what you would call kindergarten. It was really nice. So I taught for 11 years. And then the community asked me to go do formation work. So I went for training, and then after that I was like novice director for 5 years. Yeah. Yes. And
how long were you the novice director?
I was there for 5 years.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. I think, looking back, I would say that was really like the best time of my life. in as much as it is hard.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was novice mistress when I was 33 years old. So I was fairly young.
Right.
Our novices, of course, we don't have them like when they are really up in age, maybe from 18 to 21 or 23 there. But at that time I had, my oldest was 25, the oldest novice.
Okay.
So we were not very far from each other. So it brought out the youth in me, you know, working with the youth. And then of course, when it was serious time, we did serious work and all that. So I always think of that time as, instead of me forming them, they actually formed me.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I consider it a very sacred ministry. I mean, you are journeying with this person, and as she tries to listen to God's calling, and you know, times you have to tell them, I don't know if this is your vocation. Let's talk about it, you know. And I tell myself, and who am I to really say that? But at the same time, because of the position that you have, then you discern with them. So it was sacred, it was challenging, certainly, but it was really fulfilling also. It
was your sacredness coming out to them as well, and it wasn't, and we all know, it wasn't us.
And them also. Yes, so it was mutual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to think that way.
Wow.
Yes.
So then where did your journey take you?
And then it reached a time when I felt, and I felt it really in my heart, that I needed a change. Now, a change especially in, well, as a change in profession. I knew that I would still do that because you can't be a novice director forever.
No.
But I also felt as if religious life had more than what was and what I was experiencing in Eldoret. So I really had to pray and really discern it in my heart. And you know, I just felt like there was a change that needed to be done, maybe in me more than anything. So I asked if I could go for a sabbatical.
Okay.
And I left Kenya. Well, it wasn't very easy because they thought that I was doing a very good job in the novitiate and really didn't want to let me go. So after maybe 2 attempts, the Superior General finally said, okay, because I you know, I just felt it in my heart that
I'm a persistent woman.
Well, maybe I am. So anyway, that's when I came. So I came, I asked to go for a sabbatical.
Okay.
And I came to the US. And I think, and I want to say this because sometimes people think that, oh, you know, people come and then they don't want to go back to their home countries and that kind of a thing. But even when I was living there, I knew that I needed a change, and I didn't see that change happening there. And maybe what spoiled me even the most is that I was teaching novices, and here I'm teaching about the Vatican II and that kind of a thing. And yet, however we were living is almost like Vatican I.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
So I felt that I needed to do that. So even at that time, I wasn't sure that I wanted to go back. I knew that I needed a change, and I wasn't sure that I would go back. And then, of course, looking for a change, I came, and I was in Gonzaga University for a year. I took religious studies.
Okay.
And you know,
How did you know about Gonzaga University?
I had a spiritual director who was Jesuit, and he was working in Kenya, and he made that connections.
Okay.
So that's why I came to Gonzaga, and I was there, you know, for a year. And I think through prayer and everything, so the change that I was looking for turned into transformation. And sometimes when there is transformation, it's very hard to undo that.
Right, right.
So anyway, and then from there, I went to Miami, Florida, where the Adrian Dominican Sisters, you know, the university there, and the sister, we had 3 sisters already there from Kenya.
Oh,
2
okay.
from the Assumptions of Nairobi and 1 from Assumption of Eldoret. And so they gave us another scholarship. And
Who was there? Who was president? Jean?
Sister
Jean O'Loughlin was president at
Sister
that time.
Jean, that's why she, you know, she has a special place in my
Yes.
heart, really, because, you know, sometimes I think if it wasn't for that, what would have happened?
Yeah.
And of course, I don't know. Maybe God has. So anyway, God has his own ways of doing things. So I went to Miami, and I was at Berry. So since I was given this scholarship, it was a 4-year scholarship, I started thinking, I wonder if it's too late to pursue my, you know, initially I wanted to be a nurse.
Right, right.
My father died when, after my father died, I met one of his co-workers one time. And at that time I was teaching in this preschool, very, very remote area in Kenya. And he you know, greeted me excited, and he said, so where do you work this day? I said, oh, I teach in this. He said, oh, you teach? Your father always told us you are a nurse.
Oh, he never said.
I know. He really, I think when I said that I wanted to be a nurse, and you know, that was, and he really liked it, and he really wished that for me. So anyway, so when I went, I got this scholarship to go to Berry, and I decided, yes, I was going to do that. I was 40 years old, so I wasn't really young, but I told myself I can do this.
Good for you.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
so I did it, and you know, my heart just, I'm just so grateful to the Adrian Dominicans and to Sister Jean, really, who gave us that scholarship.
So you got your nursing degree from Berry University?
Yes, I did. And then from there, I came to Adrian.
Why did you come to Adrian?
Well, because I was looking for a job. I wasn't ready to go to Kenya, and I wasn't sure that I really wanted to go back. So I was looking for a job, and you know, since I still had a student visa, you know, I couldn't just look anywhere. So Sister Donna was really, really very kind to me, because we met and, you know, shared some of the stories and the changes that I thought I needed. Mm-hmm. And she was very kind. She invited me to Adrian.
Okay.
So that's why I came to Adrian. And then when I was here, and of course I had interacted with the Adrian Dominicans, you know, as I said, back in Kenya. When I was in Spokane, Washington, there was Sister Kathy Olds, and we used to meet every so often for...
What took you to Spokane?
Well, I was in Gonzaga. Gonzaga is in Spokane.
Oh, that's where it is, okay.
Yeah. And then when I was in Miami, I lived at the villa where we lived with the Adrian Dominican Sisters. So the more that happened, the more I admire, you know, their way of life. And I kept on saying, even when I was in Spokane and I saw the sisters, I kept on saying, maybe this is how religious life is supposed to be lived. You know, and I'm not saying that how, you know, how was lived there is different. It's certainly different, but I think for me, there was that need of a change. So that's when I asked to transfer. And after 3 years of formation of the transfer process, then I made the vows.
So you really were connected to the Adrians, starting over in...
I always look at that and say, you know, it's like connecting the dots everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, even when I was in Gonzaga, I came here, Sister Katie McGrail was in she was in the council. And since we were in communication, and she knew that I was there in Gonzaga, she invited me here for Christmas. And so 2002, I was here for Christmas, even without thinking that maybe one day I'll apply to join. So anyway, it has been a very, very sacred journey, I must say, certainly challenging, but I feel like I have grown through the years, and the Adrian Dominican Sisters have really, they have really held me and really helped that change that I'm talking about, and transformation, you know, that has been facilitated by my connections with the Adrian Dominican Sisters.
And you have touched us as well.
I don't know. You know.
Emmy, you feel the Adrian Dominicans have been very giving and generous to you. Mm-hmm. A very hard question. What do you feel you have done for the Adrian Dominicans?
Sometimes I feel I haven't done much.
Oh, come on.
That is why I say I want to do more. And you know, I just graduated in May. I got my master's. I mean, I went back to school. The community took me back to school. So I have so much gratitude, and I want to give back to the community. Right. Uh-huh. And it's like I'm looking and saying, how can I make that return? You know, so I really feel that I owe so much to the congregation. Mm-hmm. I want to give back, and I hope that I can be able to do that, even in my own little way.
You are.
Yeah, thank you.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So in your family, do you see them very often?
Not very often, but I talk to them on phone. I always say, and some people laugh at me, I always say, I think the cell phone is the greatest invention that God did. Because, you know, I come from very rural area. We still don't have electricity in my house. We don't have running water, you know, that kind of a thing. And so certainly we didn't have telephone lines and that kind of a thing. But with the cell phones, however, these cell phone companies have been able to do, they have introduced cell phones in Kenya. So most of my siblings have cell phones.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So do they have your program? I mean, can you talk to all of them on your new cell phone?
Not all of them.
Okay.
But I at least, like, if I talk to 2 or 3, then they tell me about everybody.
Oh, that's good.
So they still have, one of them has you know, like a smartphone, but you know, the rest have the flip phone and that kind of a thing. And so there is an app called WhatsApp, and you can even text with that. So I can text with my sister who has a smartphone. Okay. So it has been really wonderful. So that whereas I cannot see them, or, you know, because some people sometimes ask me, can you Skype? And I say, I can't. You know, they don't have the internet. They're not at the computer. But I can talk to them. So that's really very exciting. Mm-hmm. And then I really made it a point that every 3 years I go to see them.
Good.
So I'm due to go next year.
Oh, and not just for a week.
No. Because it's I stay for a long time, so I try to stay at least maybe 4 weeks or 5 if I can. Yeah.
So you've had many experiences with several Adrian Dominicans.
I have.
And you certainly have the joy of the Adrian Dominicans. We hear so much when our sisters are telling their story. What is it that attracted you to this community and not that community? And they say it was the joy.
It is the joy.
Yeah.
It is the joy. And I said, this is so just nice. I mean, I think I'm right to say this, that the Adrian Dominicans bring the best of me. You know, I tend to be reserved, shy, I don't know what you call it. But there is something that just makes me alive when I'm with the Adrian Dominican Sisters.
And you're not shy.
I know, it's like, so was it shyness or was it something else? But anyway, so yes, I really feel at home.
Well, we'll certainly keep praying that you can find, you know, some position that will be helpful to you, and that you can, you know, I guess you do like to work at hospice. Oh, yes. Yeah, that's what I trained for. You know, I trained hospice and palliative care. Good. And right now, I am employed at the hospice of Lenawee. Now, they hired a contingent position, and that's what I applied.
hoping that I'll get a full-time. I haven't been able to, I mean, they haven't had a full-time position opening up. They did, but then as usual, it's like, you know, I was still the new kid on the block, so I didn't get that. So I really feel that my skills are not being used so much. I really look for where I can use the skills and the knowledge that I have. I feel as if I have a lot of knowledge that I can share. And of course, there are so many places where I can do that.
Is there anything else that you shared a lot about yourself in your life? Anything else you want to leave with us or tell us about Emmy?
What can I say about myself? We were told to be, not to brag about yourself.
Well,
I know that's how it was in the olden days when I entered religious life. It's like you don't talk so much about yourself. That's like bragging. But of course, I know that that's not true. You know, so I really like to say I am so interested in religious life. Maybe there were times when I thought I could have said forget it and just left. But I still believe in religious life. And I just love religious life. When I taught the novices, I learned so much, and you know, so I know that it is it's a good life. I just love being religious. Some people think that I'm a risk taker. Sometimes I don't really think about that, or don't see myself like that. But I guess when you look at, you know, like, that's a very big leap coming from Kenya and then coming to almost, you know, a congregation that is really, you don't see so many people like me in terms of color or even culture. So yeah, maybe I'm a risk taker. But,
very much so.
But I really believe in interculturality. I don't know, even when I was in Kenya, I still felt like, because in Kenya really we are divided into tribal, you know, this tribe and this tribe, and sometimes this tribe, they don't see each other with this tribe, or they don't like each other because of I don't know what. But I always felt that there is something that should unite us as a people, so that what are some of the core things that we look at that we share as human beings? You know, this other color, I don't know what, these are just superficial things. You know, there is an African writer, Israeli Kenyan, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and he wrote a book which was supposed to be a controversial book. It's called The River Between. And what he meant, I don't know if you're familiar with African culture. We tend to talk in terms of parables or allegories and that kind of a thing. If you have seen my emails, most of the time I have an African proverb there. That's how you know, we grew up. But anyway, so he wrote about the river between, and it was about the European Christians who came to Kenya, and of course there was the African people following their own way, and then this was introduced. So he used that as an allegory that you know, that river. Okay, these are in this side, these are in this side. And in most places in Kenya, the land is like in ridges. There's that ridge, and then there's like a river or a creek, if you want to call it, and then like that. But so that river between, now what he says is that the Christians, because there are those Africans who embraced Christianity, and then there are those who did not. Now those who did not, look at those as traitors, because you know, you took the European ways and that kind of thing. But he said the interesting thing is that those who took Christianity, they come to the river to baptize. You know, now those who are still following the African way, they come to the river to do their African rituals. Most of the African rituals are done in the river. It's very symbolic and that kind of a thing. So the river, there it is, yes.
Bringing them together.
Yes, bringing them together so that we can coexist, because we share some core values that, you know, this is just superficial. What is that brings us together there? So I like to look at it that way, that we, you know, regardless of our culture, different colors, different, those are superficial things. What brings us together in our core as human beings. And I think we can do that. And of course we do that.
We are doing
so I think I like to challenge myself that way and say, yes, we can do this.
Right.
You know.
And you you continue to challenge us. Yes, thank you.
I think we challenge each other.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Well, thanks, Emmy.
Oh,
see, you existed, didn't you? It wasn't that hard, was it? Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being part of us and for taking the risk that got you to us, because we are far richer for your presence among us. And I say that in the name of the congregation. So you are a blessing.
Thank you so much. I mean, people have been so blessed. Yes. One person I'll never forget is Sister Jean O'Loughlin. It's like she continues just to touch my heart. I feel as if I've been so empowered. I've been, you know, everything, and of course so many sisters have contributed to that, but I just want to mention Sister Jean because...
Well, say thank you to her, because she's going to watch this.
Thank you, Sister Jean. Oh, it has been really a pleasure to work with her and really share some of the very great values like education.
Right, right.
So.
Okay, well, thank you, Emmy.
Yes.
Your 30 minutes is up.
Oh, thank you so much. I wish I could talk more. Thank you so much.
See, I don't. You're going to keep going.